Thank you for joining us. Let's begin with a review or analysis of some of the biggest stories of the day. We have Nelson Akujumi, policy analyst, who joins us now. Thank you for joining us. Good morning. Good to have you again, Mr. Akujumi. Hello, Mr. Akujumi, if you can hear me. Let's get started by asking you, I'm sure you saw the first story, which of course is a proposed salary increment, which of course the...
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you. So you saw the first story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of the proposed salary increment by 114%. So talk to us about this development, even though we're beginning to see some tweet from the senior advisor or advisors to the government denying that no aides of President Tinubu it's benefiting from this. But talk to us about this development. Do you think this is right for this time or ripe for now, given the peculiarity of the economy at this time?
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, I think we have to recognize that the prevailing socioeconomic reality, necessitates that, whether you are a public office holder or you're a private entrepreneur, that you have to, there's need for us to review your salaries and, your emoluments. And the RMAFC, if I'm correct...
At the Revenue Mobilisation, Allocation and Fiscal Commission.
Fiscal Commission, yeah. Said that it's reviewing the salaries of public office holders. Don't forget, that body is a constitutionally established body. And part of its mandate is to fix salaries of public, office holders, as well as, review on a 5-year basis the federal allocation formula. So if we are advocating that, the salaries of workers should be increased, then if the elected public office holders are also going to, patronize the same or be faced with the same socioeconomic realities, it is also imperative that they also should benefit from wherever we are looking at positively. And also the fact that the unemployed, the vulnerable, also have a right to benefit from whatever palliatives we are also giving out. So the RMAFC, is living up to its responsibility. But don't forget that, unlike what has trended in the public spaces yesterday or thereabouts, people are already going to town with the first story that public office holder salaries have been increased. Why we all know the truth is that it has to pass through some processes, and that is exactly what the RMAFC has done, because it has the power to either increase or decrease. So there are other variables that will be considered by that body.
Why this is necessary, right? A lot of people question whether this is the right time, and don't forget that this is specifically for public office holders. How about the organized private sector? How about labor? We're supposed to benefit this because this particular proposal actually benefits only political office holders and not labor, not those who are just in private sector. So that's one. Is it necessary at this point? Secondly, I'm thinking that the revenue allocation formula is different from this. That conversation is different in this case because this specifically point out the benefit, remuneration, salaries for public office holders and not allocation to the state, as it were. So people think that this will make things difficult more, and inflation will go up because the private sector is left out, labor is left out. What do you have to say about this?
Well, I think you must get one fact very clear, and it is that as much as the body has the responsibility to review allocation formula every 5 years, this is different. This is part of its mandate to fix salaries and emoluments of public office holders. And if you talk about the private sector, the labor, you are all aware that the federal government is having a tripartite committee with labor as well with the state government, labor, as well as the organized private sector on wage issues. That committee is already in place, and we have been availed. The committee reconvened on the 19th of this month. So the fact on ground today is that every sector of the society that has, input or that will be beneficiary of one process or the other has a statutory procedure that must be followed. And that is why, as citizens, it is our duty to keep our eyes on the ball and make our voice heard. Okay, if you are talking about these salaries for public office holders, are you telling me that a public service holder who was buying fuel for 185 naira before the removal of fuel subsidy, that is now going to the market to buy it for 500 naira per litre, or 490 or 488 or whatever may be the price at where he's purchasing it from? Are you telling me the public office holder should remain, his salary should remain stagnant while we talk about the organized private sector or the labor? No, absolutely not. All of us must come to the table and look at how every one of us can be beneficiaries of what can alleviate our pains. Because whether you are a public office holder, or you are a civil servant, or you are a member of the organized labor, maybe in the private or in the public sector, we are all faced with the same socioeconomic realities.
Okay. Final question on this before we move on. How concerned are you the fact that Labour was supposed to meet with the federal government about 2 days ago? That's on Tuesday. But we've not heard anything from that meeting yet, because you highlighted that meeting earlier. We haven't heard about it yet. Though Labour is asking for between 150 to 200,000 as a demand or review to the minimum wage. So how right is that? How justifiable is that demand? Do you think that is feasible? Do you think, in light of this increment for the public office holder, Labour will not be, the federal government will not be forced to agree to Labour's demand?
Well, as somebody who is versed in industrial relations, system, I can tell you for free that in collective bargaining or in negotiation about wage issues and sundry matters in the industrial relations system, you come up with your demands, and those demands will be met also with demands from the other party that you all are at the negotiation table. And those demands must be backed with facts. Other part, don't forget, the labor demand for 150,000 to 200,000 naira will be met with also demands from the organized private sector, with demands from the state government, with demands from the federal government. So they will put up a body of experts who will x-ray all the variables and come to a compromise. So the fact that you have come to the negotiation table that you want 200 is a proposal anyway, if anybody understands it very well. So proposal can be amended, can be reduced downwards, it can be increased upward depending on the variables that makes it feasible. So the demands of all this of the stakeholder will be aggregated by the demands of other stakeholders, because you are talking about 200,000 naira now. The private sector also is an employer of labor. They also have to their own interests has to be taken into consideration in view of the fact that we are talking about the national minimum wage. If the national minimum wage is 30,000 or 40,000, if you as an employer of labor decides to pay 1 million naira, that's your cup of tea. But what the law says is that you cannot pay less than XY amount of money. So it's a negotiation that is based on facts and figures and prevailing variables.
Okay, let's move to the next story of course, which talked about the forest market and how that the dollar has naira has crashed to around 758 or 780 naira to the US dollar at the official window. So it looks like, the prediction by most economists that unification of the exchange rate will crash the dollar, the naira more further. So how concerned are you about this? Even though the federal government has said, look, we're going to pump in more dollars. But the concern is that the value of the naira has really dropped with regards to the exchange rate. If you look at the current exchange rate since the unification of the naira.
Yes, absolutely. As an economist, one should be concerned because it has to do with the economic situation of the country, and it is about the people's lives. We're talking about the rates of the naira, of the dollar to the naira. Don't forget that the unification of the exchange rate system is meant, to plug loopholes that allows for sharp practices. But be that as it may, it's also a fact that the unification system has also created a window whereby the rates is determined by the forces of demand and supply. And when we say it's determined by forces of demand and supply, it means if one dollar is available, for purchase, then the rate will not go up much. But if dollar becomes scarce, definitely naira will seek at whatever level to catch up to be able to purchase a dollar. But most importantly is that right now, because of the fact that subsidy has been removed, we are going to have local refinery of our petroleum product. It means the revenue that will be accruing to the country from both the oil and non-oil sector, the pressure on it will be very low. The pressure on our forex will be low. And if the pressure on our forex is low, then another will go up. The more we become more dependent locally, internally, the more the value of the more our naira becomes the beautiful bride. And that is why the issue about increasing the productive capacity, putting in place the necessary infrastructure that will make for foreign and local investments to thrive, for businesses to come into the country. That is what will majorly determine the value of the naira, and not based on whatever the government pumps in. So long as we can have more businesses in the country, and most of the things we need to purchase from outside the country are being produced and purchased internally, then we'll have no business, or we'll have little business with the dollar, and in that case the dollar will crash against the naira.
As you're aware, I mean, production locally is very expensive, and so sometimes even the cost of importation is still there. They're also concerned about some products that have been banned by the CBN as a result of the forex crisis. Then, so these are issues, but we may not be able to exhaust all of that. Now, let's quickly look at the next story, which talked about federal government distribution of a free solar system, perhaps in a bid to cushion the effect of the subsidy that we're seeing, subsidy removal that we're seeing. So talk to us about this development.
Removal. Yeah.
Talk to us about this development. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Well, this development is a very, is heartwarming in view of the fact that this is a project that commenced under the previous administration, and if the present government is continuing that process, it tells you clearly, like we always say, that government is a continuum. Don't also forget the fact that one of the major factors that can cushion the effect of the subsidy removal majorly will be the uninterrupted power supply. Because as I speak to you, I recollect in not too recent past, when fuel was selling for 185 naira per litre, in the evenings, if you go around our cities, the number of people carrying 4-liter jerry cans to purchase fuel to power their homes, it's frightening. But you go around these days, almost everybody, the queues or the turnout at petrol stations to buy fuel to power generators, is thinning out, because people cannot afford that the fuel at that price. And if the government can, provide this free solar system that will provide electricity to homes and offices, then it means the cost of living will go down, because majorly what a lot of homes and offices spend, their running cost on majorly is on producing power supply, their own private power supply. But if the public power supply comes into place, it will be cheaper, it will be more environmental friendly, and it will become more affordable and accessible. So for me, this is a welcome development that should be encouraged.
Just quickly, I mean, the question will now be, how many Nigerians will benefit from this? That's the big question. I mean, how do you distribute talking about regional demographic? So the concern is how many Nigerians will benefit from this. That's the question. The
projects is targeted at majorly the vulnerable, the less privileged, and the data has been collected, and that process is ongoing. Except if the present administration is going to review, the indices that was used, to arrive at those to benefit, and that is what we can also look at. Okay. But as we speak, there's a data on ground, and that is being followed.
All right, so let's quickly wrap up with this next story and our last biggest stories of the day, talking about the foreign airlines economy ticket, which is about to hit 2 million. At the moment, it's sold at 1.2 million. That's the economy ticket, and report has it that the business class is around 4 to 6 million, depending on the airline that you're flying. So talk to us about also the fallout, your position on the fallout of the unification of the exchange rate, because this has to do with adjustment in the exchange rate by IATA.
Yes, the fact of the issue is that foreign airlines, like we all know, even till now, purchase their fuel, at the international market. Nigeria is not, producing Jet A1 aviation fuel for the airlines, to power their airlines, to fly. And these are some other factors are responsible for the high cost of doing business. And, like we say in our normal balance, that it is what you buy that you sell. So if the foreign airline, if the unification of the exchange rate has resulted in the Forex not being available in the quantity the foreign airlines want, because whether you are a local airline and you want to service, for example, you want to service your aeroplanes, you and I know very well that a lot of servicing as well as materials for doing business for the airlines are done outside the country, and that puts a pressure on the demand for Forex. But if some of these services that the airlines need to do can be done locally in terms of the accessibility and affordability, definitely the price of tickets will come down. So long as we continue to allow capital flight for things that we are well endowed to provide locally and make life easier and affordable for our people. So long as the airlines cost or ticket fare will be determined by international prices. But if the airlines are getting the Jet A1 aviation fuel in the country, they can do some servicing of their parts in Nigeria, definitely the prices will come down. So the airlines are here for business and not for philanthropism.
Okay, I think we'll just have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Nelson Kujemi, for your time on Business Breakfast. Do have a great day.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You'll be watching Business Breakfast. All right, let's head to the equities market. After this break, we'll take a look at the positive momentum at the end of Wednesday's trading section as more money is exchanged hands at the end of the day. I'll be back in a moment. Please do stay with us.